Hey guys, this is Kerry from Homestead How, and we're building a greenhouse. But before we start building the greenhouse, we're going to design it in Google SketchUp, and in this video I'm going to show you how we do that. Keep in mind this is just a first video, it's sort of a rough draft, nothing set in stone, but it's just to start the planning process. This is going to be a rather descriptive, detailed video. It's going to be kind of long, so you may want to skip around if you know some of the basics of Google SketchUp. But please be sure to subscribe and check back. The really interesting video will be when we build the greenhouse with the TUFTEX panels. It'll be a video coming up soon, and it'll show the actual build process, and I think you guys will enjoy it. Alright guys, here's the design that we ended up choosing. We did some research online and we found this greenhouse design from anna-white.com. And we just liked the look of the design, and original design we were looking at had more of a straight A-frame roof. The only thing I didn't like with this particular design was they ran the polycarbonate panels horizontally instead of vertically. And I'm not going to do it that way. I really think these should be run vertically. Otherwise, water and snow is going to get caught in those grooves. If we run them vertically, they'll be able to run off, and that's how they're really intended to be used. So we like the look of this design, but we're going to put the TUFTEX polycarbonate panels with the grooves vertically instead. Now, these TUFTEX polycarbonate panels are available at Lowe's, and it's really important that you get the polycarbonate panels if you're going to do a greenhouse project. A lot of the home improvement sites, stores, sell clear vinyl panels, which are a little bit less expensive, but they won't hold up to the heat and they won't last long. So there's a quick tip before we jump in and start designing this on Google SketchUp. So let's design this in Google SketchUp. I'll take you through, I'll show you some tips and tricks for using Google SketchUp, which is a free program. At the end of the project, we'll basically have a 3D design of the greenhouse, and we'll also have a cut list showing every single 2x4 that we need. We'll be able to precisely order the lumber, the fasteners, the TUFTEX panels. We'll know exactly what we need to complete the project. I'm going to show you some tips and show you some pretty cool things you can do with Google SketchUp and some things you can do to streamline the process. So one thing you want to keep an eye on is this box in the lower right hand corner. We're going to be feeding several measurements into there, and we want to be precise with our measurements so that the design comes out okay, so that we order the correct amount of lumber, and that everything's going to visually look exactly like it will. Because one of the things some people may not realize is when you order a 2x4 or 2x6 from the store, they're not actually 2 inches by 4 inches. They're 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And we want to make sure to put those exact measurements into Google SketchUp, not the dimensional labels that they have at the hardware store. So we're not going to be putting any 2x4 measurements in here. So let's start with that side wall, which was 12 feet long. And to do that, we're going to use this rectangle tool. We're going to try to draw the stud, or it's not actually called a stud. There's a technical name for it, and I don't know what it is, but the bottom 2x4 of the wall. Let's just roughly try to get it close, and then we're going to type, and now pay attention to the box in the lower right hand corner. We're going to type 3.5 double quote, which is inches, press the comma, and then we're going to type 12 single quote, which is feet. We could put inches in there as well. We could put 144 double quote inches. Same thing. So hit enter, and we'll have a flat 2x4, 3.5 inches wide, 12 feet long. But this 2x4 is completely flat, so we're going to need to raise it up 1.5 inches, and I'll show you that in a second. One thing I wanted to show you first is moving around in SketchUp. So there's several tools up here to move around and navigate and get different views. One of the more popular tools you're going to use is this orbit tool. You press that and you click with your mouse, and you can drag left, right, up, or down. The other tool is this hand tool, where you can actually move the entire thing and reposition. But you're not rotating, you're just moving around left, right, forward, backwards. And then there's a magnifying glass where you can zoom in and out. So these tools are handy, but the best way to use Google SketchUp is to use your mouse. Rather than clicking these tools each time, you can use your mouse, and if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, which most people do, that's the best way to use Google SketchUp. So if we scroll forward, we're going to zoom in. So watch this. If we scroll back, we're going to zoom out. A lot easier than going up here and clicking the button and then going back and clicking the next button when you want to go back to the tool. We're on this selection tool and we can stay on there and we can still zoom in and out. And the other trick that's really handy with SketchUp that a lot of newbies may not be aware of is you can use this orbit tool with your scroll button on your mouse as well. And to do that, you push the scroll button in. It's actually a button that you can push in as well besides just rolling in and rolling out. So I'm pushing the scroll button in now, and you can see the orbit icon appears. And now I'm just going to move the mouse left or right while I'm still pushing that scroll button in, and you can see we're now orbiting. So we don't have to actually go up here and click all these tools. We can quickly use the mouse to zoom in, zoom out, and orbit. So now we have a flat 2x4, 3.5 inches by 12 feet. Now say you forgot that, you could use this tape measure tool, and we can measure it. You want to be precise, but you can see underneath the tool it says 12 feet, and then in the box in the lower right it also says 12 feet. So we know we got 12 feet there. And now if I click this, let's say we're trying to do some angle on a rafter or something. We can use the tape measure tool and then click it, and it leaves a guide line there, which can be really useful when you're doing rafters or you got some complicated angles. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. Let's delete that for now. And now we're going to use this push-pull tool, and we want to raise this up because it's a flat 2x4 right now. It needs to be 1.5 inches high. So we can click, and then you can drag as high as you want, which is kind of cool. We can orbit around to see it, but we only want that to be 1.5 inches high. So you just start typing. You don't have to click the mouse over here in the corner. You can just start typing. We're going to type 1.5, double quote for inches, and then press enter. Now we have the exact dimensions of a 2x4x12, which again is 1.5 by 3.5 by 12 feet long. So that's the bottom 2x4 on our wall. Okay, so now we have this bottom sole plate or board. So we're going to select the sole plate and we're going to make it into a component. Stud later. So we'll leave that like that. And now we're going to draw another rectangle for the wall studs. So let's click here and just roughly draw what we think it's going to be. And then look in the lower right hand corner. We see 3.5. By 1 13/16. We want it by 1.5. So we'll just type the whole thing over again. 3.5. And you can do the double quotes for inches, or you can just leave it blank, and Google Sketchup will default to inches. So 3.5, comma, 1.5, enter. That's the dimensions of the stud, and now we need to add the height, which will be 33 inches. But before we do that, let's double click on this, and then right click, and we're going to make another component. We're going to call it 33-inch stud. Enter. Now, we can quickly duplicate this and just follow along. You'll see what I mean, but this is one of the cooler little tricks you can do with Google Sketchup that's kind of hard to learn. But this move tool is also a duplicate tool. So we click the move tool and click down onto the center of the stud. So we'll position the mouse right there, and then you want to press the Alt key, and then while you're holding down the Alt key, click your left mouse button. And now drag, and you see we have a duplicate of that stud. And it kind of locks into the stud where it started. It locks into the same position. And we want this 24 inches out. And rather than trying to eyeball that, if you look at the length in the lower right, it's constantly changing, we can just type it. So type 24 and hit enter. And it just placed that stud exactly 24 inches on center from this one. Now we want to duplicate that. So we want that stud 24 inches on center all the way down the board. So press the shift key and press 8, which is the asterisk or the multiplication button. So we're saying we want to multiply that stud. So we hit that. If you see in the lower right, you can see the asterisk. And now you press how many of those studs you want. Let's say we don't know. We know it's 12 feet long, so we can approximate, but let's just say we'll do 5. Then we hit enter. You can see it's placed 5 studs all the way along the end. And each of those are 24 inches on center exactly. But we need one right on the end, which we don't have. So let's click this last one. And we'll click the move button again. We'll press Alt and then left click on the mouse. We see the duplicate. Now we're going to zoom in by scrolling. Get right to the edge and press enter. Now let's zoom back out and let's move back to the first one that we created. Let's see if you orbit around, you can kind of see. So these are 24 inches on center. This one's a little bit less because just the way it worked out there. But let's click on this first one now. And you double click and it selects every one of these because we made it a component and then we duplicated it. So this is kind of a cool trick. Now we've double clicked that. Now we're going to click this push pull tool, which we used earlier. We're going to click on this. You can see all of them have the little dots on them when you mouse over it. Now you raise it up and you can see every one of them is raising up. This is a really handy feature of Google Sketchup. Everything's precise. They're all the exact same height. So we could eyeball this again. If you look in the lower right corner, it shows the distance. We're just going to type. It's 33 inches. 33, enter. And now we have the studs. 24 inches on center, 33 inches high. So we're going to get out of that component view. And now we want to duplicate this board on the top. So we could draw it again, or we could just click this. And if we click it, let's get a bottom view of it. We're going to press this move tool, which again is the duplicate tool. We're going to click on the bottom face of this board. And we're going to press Alt, and then we're going to click the left mouse key to duplicate it. The reason I'm clicking on the bottom is because then when we move it up, we can touch the bottom of this board, and if you just touch the top of this board, it'll automatically place it there. Now if I clicked on the top of this board, we'd be orienting this board off of the top, if that makes sense. But basically, now all I have to do is touch this to the top of the stud, and it's going to land right on top of it where we want it. Now left and right, we're off. Now here's another trick with Google SketchUp. When you're moving things around, we have this move tool selected. You can touch the face of objects to place it right on the face, like I said here. So right now it's exactly 33 inches high on that face, but left and right it's not perfect yet. And if you press the arrow keys, it will lock the item you're moving into on one of the axes. So I'm going to press the right arrow key while I'm moving this now, and it locks it on that bottom axis. Now I'm going to press the up and down arrow key, and then if we press the face here, it locks it perfectly on that axis. So left and right it's correct, and then the height's correct. Just for testing out here, I'm going to press the left arrow key, and it locks it on that axis. You see there on the bottom? So the arrow key we want to use in this case is the up and down. So it's perfectly on the same plane. The edge is on the same plane of the bottom. And then we move the mouse over to the top of the stud, and it'll set it right on the top. We're going to press the left mouse key, and it's locked in now. Now we're going to orbit around. We can see we have our 12-foot long wall, 2x4 is 24 inches on center. Now, we want to put another wall like this, and we're going to have it roughly 11 feet out. So it's going to be 12 feet long, 11 feet wide. So rather than draw all this over, we can highlight the entire thing, and then we want it to be 12 feet off. So we're going to click the move tool, which can also duplicate, and we're going to press on the face of this wall. You can press any of these on the face, and you press the Alt key, and then again hit the left mouse key. Now we've duplicated that wall. Now, while we're moving this wall around, we use the arrow key like I just mentioned before. We can push up and down. So I'm holding the up arrow key right now. This is the left arrow key. We want the right arrow key in this instance. I'm going to hold the right arrow key down. You can see it's right on that. The edges are lined up perfectly. Right now it's about 2 feet apart. We want it to be 11 feet apart. So I'm just going to type in 11, single quote for feet, enter. And I'm going to switch over to the selector key. So now we have both walls, and they are 12 feet long, 36 inches high, and 11 feet apart, which is exactly what we want. So next we're going to build the back wall and then the front wall, and then we're going to do sort of the gabled ends, which are a little more complicated. Now we're going to build the front and back wall. And one thing I'm going to do, let's just do a quick measurement here and see what we have. 11, 3.5. That's actually fine. It doesn't have to be precise here as long as it's under 12 feet. Wait, let me think about that for a second. What do we have in between here? 10 feet, 8.5. I'm actually going to change this. This is one of the benefits of Google Sketchup. It's really not that big of a deal, but just to make things easier, I'm going to make this 10 feet apart. That way, when I build the back and front wall, I can use a 2x4x10, and I don't have to cut anything, and there's no waste. So if I used a 12 foot, I'd have to cut 2 feet off. So I'm going to move this in just slightly so that we have 10 feet in between. And rather than try to figure that out, I'm just going to do a 2x4 on the ground. And one other thing I'm going to do here, when I build this front wall and the back wall is going to be a solid wall, front wall is going to have a door in it. I'm going to just build the wall all the way across and then add the door in underneath it. It'll provide more stability, and then once I get the door, I can cut the bottom 2x4 out to make room for the door, but it'll keep everything nice and stable and everything nice and square before I add the door in, which is going to be one of the last steps. So I want to make this 10 feet apart instead of what I have, sort of designing as we go, which is one of the nice things here with Google Sketchup. So let's draw a stud here on the bottom, and we want it to be 3.5 by 10 feet, single quote. Okay, so I did that, but I did it the wrong way. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. Let's try it again this way. One way to do it is to just kind of draw it out and then look at the dimensions in the lower right corner. And when I'm doing that right now, I can see where the first dimension needs to be the length, because that's 4 feet right there. 10 feet. So I'm going to do 10 as the first dimension, feet, comma, 3.5 inches. So now we have the bottom board for the front and back wall, and that's 10 feet apart. So I'm going to move this over to meet up with that. But first, we're going to raise this up. We want 1.5 inches high. 1.5, enter. Now we can move this wall over to touch. So we're going to highlight the whole thing. Click the move button, and again, it's important where you click on here, because if we click on this face, we could line it up with this face. I'm going to click on this face, and then I just have to drag down and touch the edge of the 2x4, and it'll automatically line up precisely with that. If you try to just move it around randomly, you're going to have a little gap in between. It's not going to be perfect. So I'm going to press this face, and then I want to start moving it. And what do? I got to press one of my arrow keys to really lock it in. I'm going to press the left arrow key. Nope, that's not it. Press the up arrow key. Nope, that's not it. Right arrow key. That's the one. So now we're on the edges of these boards are perfectly lined up, and I'm just going to watch when I touch the edge of the front wall 2x4 here. It perfectly lines it up. Click the mouse button, and now we're exactly 10 feet apart. Now we want to do studs across here, and this front wall and the back wall are going to be the same, and then again at the end I'm going to cut out and put a door in. So first thing we want to do, click this new 2x4 we made. Right click, make component. It's important that you do that. Otherwise, when you add other 2x4s on it, it's going to think it's part of this 2x4, and it's going to mesh them together versus keeping them as separate boards. So we'll just say 10-foot wall. It really doesn't matter what you name it. 10-foot stud. Okay, and then we're going to go over here, and we need a 2x4 right on the edge. So let's orbit around. Get a little bit of a better view, zoom in a little bit, grab the rectangle tool, roughly draw what we think the 2x4 will be, and then we start typing 3.5, comma, 1.5, enter. And then we're going to click this. Again, we could just draw this and we could lift it now, but then we only have one, and we want to make them all at one time. So let's double click this, right click, make component. We'll say front wall stud 33 inches high. Okay, and now we're going to click that again, click the move or copy tool, and we're going to click right in the center. We're not clicking, we're going to put the cursor right in the center. Now we're going to hold down the Alt key, and then we're going to left click on the mouse. And now we've duplicated that. Now we're going to type 24 and hit enter, and that'll put it 24 inches on center. And then we're going to type shift asterisk, which is multiply, and we're going to say, just for fun, let's say 14. It's going to be way too many, but just to show you, and hit enter. And now we're going to zoom out a little bit, and we can see if we go over here, whoa, we got all those extras. So we can just delete those. Click the little arrow key, drag a box around, press delete, and those are gone. We want one precisely on the edge here though. So we're going to click this one, double click so that you have the whole blue box aligned. Press the move key, which is also the duplicate key, cursor in the center, hold down Alt, press the left mouse button, and we're going to slide it over. And actually, I'm going to put it in the wrong spot on purpose and hit Ctrl Z. And let's do this one more time. Double click, hit the mouse button, which is also the clone. Instead of clicking on the face, I'm going to click on the edge. I'm holding the Alt key. Now I'm going to left click with the mouse. This way I can touch right to this face and it'll be perfectly on the edge. Okay, so now we have the 2x4s and we need to raise them up 33 inches. So let's go back to our first one. Because we made this a component, they will all act together. Now we're going to click the push-pull tool. You can see all of them become highlighted, and we can raise them all up at one time. Now we could just go over here and press it on this face, and that'll put it at exactly 33 inches. Or we can type in 33. Either way will work. We'll type in 33 and hit enter. Press the arrow key, and now we have the front wall done. Well, the studs. Now we need to add the top 2x4x10. So we'll click the bottom one, and we're going to do the same thing. Let's orbit under so we can select the bottom of this face, and then when we touch the top of this face, it'll meet up perfectly. So again, press the move copy key, put the mouse cursor on the face of the board, hold down Alt, left click once, and drag up. Now we want to hold down the up-down arrow key, and that'll lock it right into the plane so the edges meet, and then we just put the cursor right on the top edge of the stud, and that's perfect. So now we have that wall. Now we want to duplicate the front with the back, back with the front. So we're going to select everything here. This part may be a little tricky. Let's see. So we're going to hit Shift. So I'm holding down Shift and I'm clicking each one of these components. Perfect. Now I'm going to press the Move Copy tool. I'm going to put the mouse on the face. Hold down Alt, left click with the mouse, and we have the wall. Now I'm going to hold down the left arrow key. Again, the arrow keys you hold down, sometimes it's confusing. So I press the right one, nope, that's not it. Now I press the up and down, that's not it. Now I press the left, that's definitely it. So we're on this face of the wall, and we want it to be on the edge of this face. So let's orbit around to get a better view and just touch the face right there. See, actually I did that incorrectly. Yeah, we didn't want to select that face. I should have selected the other face. So let's try that again. So we have this. We want this face to be even with this face. So let's press the arrow key again. We'll press this face. Hold down the Alt key, left click once. Actually, I didn't need to do that because I'm duplicating, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to press the left arrow key. Nope. Yep, left arrow key. So now I'm going to press the front of this face and see how it locks in there perfectly. That's exactly what we want. Now I'm going to click the mouse button, and we have that wall. Now we have this extra one because I just copied it, so we'll just zoom out, select it, and press delete. Now we have all four of the bottom walls built. Next, we're going to build the 48-inch rafters that go up to the center. The really fun part now is when we draw the rafters. In the design that I was looking at, their design is 99 inches high. And I like the look. I like sort of the proportions of it. So 99 inches from here to here. So we're going to find this first, this center point, and that's what we're going to base everything off of. So it's an important thing to figure out here. So we'll use this tape measure tool, and we know that from here to here is 10 feet. Let me make sure I get on that axis correctly. 10 feet. So you can see on the lower right and in the tool that's 10 feet. And so if we use this tape measure tool, let's just say we click from here and we stay on that axis and we type in 5 single quote, enter, it'll give us a mark right at 5 feet, a guide point. So that's dead center. Now if we go up, now watch when this line turns blue, that means we're parallel to this axis. It's straight up and down when it's blue. So we know that this wall here is 36 inches. We want to go to 99 inches, so basically 100 minus 36 would be 64. And then we're going to take one off because it's 99, not 100. So it's 63 inches from here. So type in 63, enter. And that is the exact center point, 99 inches from the ground. Now eventually we'll put a door in here and we'll change some of these things, but that gives us a good starting point. 2x6 rafter going across at this point, straight back. And actually we should probably add that as a first step here. Yeah, let's do that. So the top of the 2x6 will be the top of this point. We'll draw a little rectangle. See, this part might be a little tricky, but it doesn't have to be. So let's go from here to here. A 2x6 is 1.5 inches wide. I'm going to draw 3/4 of an inch over, so we'll get basically the left half of it. So we'll do 0.75, comma, 5.5. A 2x6 is actually 5.5 inches. So that's the left side of it, and then we'll do the same thing over here on the right. We'll do 0.75, comma, 5.5. Oh, did that backwards. Try that again. 5.5, comma, 0.75. So there's two sides of the 2x6, and we need that to be 12 feet long, so we can scroll around here. We'll use the push-pull tool. We're going to select both of these, hit the push-pull tool. Actually, we'll do one at a time. There's probably a better way to do this, but let's just do it this way. We'll hit 12 feet, enter. Do the same thing on this side. 12 feet, enter. And now let's zoom out and see if that looks correct. Yeah, that looks perfect. Okay, I'm going to just save my progress here. Don't want to lose this. So greenhouse design, we'll do 220, save. Now we have the header in place, we have the side walls, now we need to make the rafters. So this design, their rafters are 48 inches, and overall the proportions look good. The main thing I want to make sure is that I don't make this angle so much so that I end up using more than one 2x4. So in other words, I don't want to cut this rafter and then only have, say, 3 feet left, which isn't enough for the bottom part of the rafter. I don't want to cut this top part and then have a leftover scrap piece that's only 3 feet. I want to be able to get this entire, both of these rafters out of one 2x4 with as little waste as possible. So their side rafter that they used was 48 inches. So I'm going to try to duplicate that. So we have our center point and we have the header. So we can use this tape measure tool, and we know for sure that the 2x4 is going to end at this corner. And we know for sure that it's 48 inches long. So we can kind of eyeball what would look like a good angle. I think that looks pretty good. So we'll aim that where we want it, and then we'll type 48 inches and hit enter. I think that looks pretty good. So we have that angle. And now if we go from, we know that the other top rafter is going to meet the header right at this point, so we can click there, and then we can meet up at the two. We can zoom back and get kind of a look, and I think that looks pretty good. So let me look at theirs once more. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So now we can draw a guideline for the 2x4, and we can start to get some of the angles. So I'm clicking right in the center here. We know a 2x4 is 3.5 long, And Google Sketchup is giving me a parallel line right here. So I'm going to type 3.5, enter. And now we already have the angle now here. I can show you how to get that with the protractor tool in a second, but we have the angle. We're going to need to cut the 2x4 meeting the header. And next we need to find the angle where the two 2x4s meet, where we're going to have a gusset right here. So next, we know the 2x4s here. We're going to just extend this out. Actually, we click that again. Now we're going to click off of this and we want to go parallel. And we know it's 3.5 inches wide. So we'll type 3.5, enter. Now we have that guideline. Now we can see where the two intersect. If we connect those together, we'll actually have the angle right here for the top 2x4 and the angle for the bottom. So let's draw these out. We're going to use the pencil tool. And again, we want to be very precise. We're going to click right in this end point, right in the corner. Follow the guideline down to this point. Over for the angle. Back up. And now we have the face of the top rafter. But we need to make that 1.5 inches wide. Right now it's just flat. So we'll use the push-pull tool. Pull it out, type 1.5, enter. Now the next thing we want to do is make this a separate component. So we're going to click this. You have to be careful when you click because sometimes it doesn't get the whole thing like that, which is really annoying. So we're going to try again. You just got to click 3 times, it seems like. There we go. Now the whole thing's selected. Right click, make component. We'll call it top rafter. So that's done. Now we're going to draw the bottom rafter, which we know starts right at this corner. We don't want it over this edge at all, obviously. We'll click up, and we know that it meets. Let's get in here a little closer. So we're going to click in. Click the pencil tool, click the corner. It's going to meet up at this corner. Let's come down here. Now here you got to be really careful. You may think it's going to go here, but it's not. It's actually wider because this 2x4 is on an angle. So we need to click it here and then here. Now orbit around, zoom out a little bit, and we need to make that 1.5 inches wide. 1.5, enter. That looks pretty good. Now we can get rid of some of these guidelines we don't need anymore. I can't remember if I made this a component now. I want to make sure to make this a component as well. So make sure it's clicked all the way around. Make component, bottom rafter 3. Now we're going to duplicate this. So I'm going to hit the shift key and I'm going to click the other one. So if you don't have anything selected, you just click one, it highlights. If you click the next one, it highlights that. But if you hold down shift and press it, you can select both of them. And then I'm going to click the move tool, which is also the copy tool. I'm going to go over here so I can see the face of this. I'm going to go right in the center of the face, hold down Alt, press the left mouse key. Now that made a copy of it. If I push the right arrow key, it locks in on that axis. Left arrow key locks in on this axis. So I want the left arrow key. I'm holding that down now, and the face meets up perfectly. Now I'm going to type 24 and hit enter, and that'll put this rafter 24 inches on center from the first one. And then I'm going to hit shift asterisk, which will multiply this. I'm going to say 10. This is going to give me 10 of these at 24 inches on center. It's going to be too many, but we'll see, and we'll delete the extras. I'm going to zoom out, hit the selection tool, delete those. And now the last one is over a little bit, so we're going to fix that. And the way we do that is select both of these, hit the move tool. Now we're going to press on the face here, and then we can just drag over the cursor to this face, and these two faces will then be lined up. And I'm going to hold the arrow key down. That's the up arrow key. That's not correct. That's the left arrow key. So that's locking it in perfectly, and then touch the face here, click the mouse button, and we should be lined up perfectly. And we are. So now we have the left rafters done, and we're going to need to duplicate that on the right side. There's probably a better way to do this, and if you guys know how, please leave a comment. I don't know how. I've done it in the past where I've copied all of this and then duplicated it and then tried to orbit it around, but I could never get it straight or perfect. So it didn't wasn't very hard to do this, so I'm just going to do this again and recreate it the same way I did. So the main thing is I need to get this angle the same as this angle, and I know that this is 48 inches, so if I go from here, let me zoom in a little bit to get this perfect. If I go from here to here, oh no, I'm sorry, this was 48 inches. Okay, so I need to get this angle, and then I need to put a guideline at that angle. So to get that angle, we're going to go under Tools, Tools, Protractor, Endpoint. Click to here, click to here. 62.2. I want to do the same thing over here. Click here, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to type 62.2, enter. There we go. Now we have that angle. Got a couple extras in there. Let's get rid of some of these. See if that looks right. Does look right. So we have this guideline, and now we just have to draw a line that's the exact same length as this line. So we want to be careful to make that precise. So we're going to click that point to that point, and we get 3 feet, 8 inches, 8 and 13/16 inches. So it's, I'm going to write this down. It's not an even number. 3 feet, 8 and 13/16. So we're going to do that over here. Let's draw this line. We're going to start out on this axis, and we're just going to type 3 feet, 8 space 13/16, enter. Now let's see what that looks like. There, that should be the top part. Now we know 2x4 has to go from this point down to here, so we'll draw that guideline. And we know the 2x4 has to be parallel, 3.5 down, parallel from this one, 3.5 down. Now we can just draw the rest of it with the line tool. So we have the top, we'll go down to this point, that point, and then we'll scroll around 1.5 inches. And we want to make sure to make this a component. Be careful to click the whole thing. We'll call this right top rafter. And now we need to draw the bottom rafter. And we know that it'll end on this point to that point, there to there. This is where we want to be careful, make sure to get it precise. And we'll orbit around and make this 1.5 inches wide. 1.5, enter. And triple click, make component, right bottom rafter. Now we'll press shift so we select both of these, and we're going to look on the side face and try to get right in the center, and we're going to use the move copy tool, place the cursor in the center, hold down the alt key, left click the mouse, and drag this over, and we're going to type 24, enter. Now we're going to type shift asterisk, which is multiplication, and we're going to do 10, enter. So now we have 10 rafters, 24 inches on center. We did a couple too many, so we're going to fix that. Hand over here. And just like before, the last rafter is a little bit too far, not quite 24 inches on center, so we'll click that, press the move tool, and we're going to click the front face, and then we're going to hold down the left arrow key and put the cursor right on this front face. So this face and this face will be exactly lined up. And that should do it perfectly. Let's zoom out, see if that looks correct. Now let's see get rid of some of these guidelines. And we'll take the tape measure. Let's go from this point down to the center point. 4, 6, and 11/16. 4, 6, and 11/16. So that's perfect. So this distance and this distance are exactly the same. All right, so now we have both rafters on. Now we will add in the back wall and go from there. Build the back wall, and we still have our center point here. So first we're going to need a 2x4 going straight up. Actually, let's use we're going to use the tape measure tool instead. Edit, undo. Okay, we know the 2x4 will need to be 2x4 is 3.5 wide, so that's 1.75 from the center over to the right. And then we can draw a straight line up. And same thing here, we know it's 1.75 over, and then a straight line up. Now, if we did it exactly like that, which we probably won't, we'll probably notch this out or something, but we'll draw the 2x4 now. So it's going to be right here to here, up to the top. And then we need to push-pull 1.5. And then we want to have bracing from here over, kind of how they did it here. So we know for sure that the top edge of the 2x4 is going to be right here. And all right, let's try it this way once. Erase this. Let's just draw the thing. Corner of the 2x4 is going to be here, roughly here, and then we want to go 3.5 over. Ooh, that looks perfect. So then we'll draw from here to there, to there, to there, to there. And then we'll push this out. Make sure we push it the right way. 1.5 inches. Ooh. Oh, I did that wrong. I pulled it. Go on this side and pull it. 1.5 inches. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing over here. Or and then we want to pull 1.5. Pull 1.5. And then we have the back bracing for the back wall. Yeah, save this again. Alright, so now I'm going to add the front door, and I'm going to remove this wall. It's kind of foolish to put the wall there, and add the door. Delete, click, delete, click, delete. I'm going to leave this bottom board in, and once I add the door, I'll remove it, and once I get everything in place, it just keeps things more stable. I think doing it this way. So we know that bottom board is 10 feet long. We need to mark it 5 feet. So we're going to take our ruler, line it up on the line we want, type 5 feet, enter. And now you can see this point here. The door I'm going to put in is exactly 30 inches wide. So we need 15 feet over to the right of the center point, I'm sorry, 15 inches to the right. And we can see that dot. We can go straight up with that. And 15 inches this way. We'll go straight up with that. Make sure it locks in on the blue axis so it's parallel. And the door is 80 inches high. I'm going to end up removing this bottom 2x4, so we would want to go 80 minus an inch and a half from this point, and that would be 78.5. Enter. What did I do there? Let's try this again. Get it on the blue line. 78.5 inches. Enter. There we go. So this is what our door is going to look like. So we know there's going to be a stud right here next to the door. So we know it needs to go at least this high, and then we'll have a double header coming across here. So we'll click the rectangle tool, click in this corner, and we'll type 3.5, comma 1.5, and we'll extend it up. And let's see, we need to move around here a little bit. I'll have to notch that. I may have to play around with that, but for now we'll leave it like that, and we'll do the same thing on this side. We'll draw a rectangle, 3.5, comma 1.5, push-pull tool, straight up. And then we'll need a header above, so we click on this angle here, 1.5, comma 3.5, and we'll pull that out to that face. Actually, let's do that the proper way. It should be like this, 3.5, comma 1.5. And we'll do another one over here, 3.5, comma 1.5. And pull it over to this face, pull it over to this face. How does that look? All right, so now we'll also have a 2x4 coming over here. We could just draw that quickly, 1.5, comma 3.5, and we'll pull that all the way over to here, touch that face, and we'll do the same thing on this side. Rectangle tool, 3.5, 1.5. Pull that over to here. Whoops, it dropped it. It's starting to come together now. Okay, now we'll want, let's see, what is the distance here? 36 plus 7 is 43. 43 divided by 2 is 21 and a half. So we could put a stud right in the center of this. So this is, let's see again, 12, 24, 36. 36 plus 7 is 43 and a half. Half of 43 and a half is 21 and a half. So let's just say 21 over. We'll go 21 over from here. 21, enter. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we'll put a stud here. 1.5 comma 3.5. Right to the face. And same thing over here, 21 over. And a stud right here. I got to reposition here. Okay. 3.5 comma 1.5 and then pull it up. Touch anywhere on this face. You can go way over here even. That's really coming together nice. Okay, so now we could do another stud up this way, or we could do an angled one like we did in the back. I'm going to try that angled one. I kind of like that. Let's get rid of some of these guide marks. So we'll say the top of the 2x4 is going to be here, and it's going to go right about there. And then we're going to take our tape measure, we're going to draw 3.5 out, and we're going to get the bottom here to here, and then we'll pull it out 1.5 inches. Do the same thing on the other side. Edge of the 2x4 right there. Tape measure 3.5. Finish the line. Pull that out. 1.5, enter. All right. Then I'll get everything in place. I'm going to put some cement pillars in the ground to attach this to the ground. I'm going to use pressure treated boards for these bottom boards. And then when I get everything in place, fastened down, I'll just take my Sawzall and cut the bottom part of this door off. And then the door, 30 inches wide by 80 inches high, will fit right in there. I'm wondering if I should do another 2x4. I may change this. Maybe I should do a 2x4 straight up here. The weight of the roof here is going to push down on this, and maybe I have another one right here. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that here real quick. So put another 2x4 in, 3.5 comma 1.5. And do the same thing on this side. I may change some of this. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. It looks kind of cool though. Let's get rid of some of the extra guidelines here. So another thing you can do is, we'll get into a little bit next year, but you can put in different colors and things like that. So here's the paint tool, and you could see the different colors, and then there's materials. So wood, like if you wanted a sort of a 2x4 color, you click on one of these, and then you click the wood. And it's better to do that at the earlier stage when you make it as a component, because then when you duplicate it, it'll duplicate it across all of them. But you can also select everything like that, and then click the paint tool, and it'll paint the whole thing at one time. With the TUFTEX polycarbonate we're using from Andorra, they're actually the specification calls for painting the plywood or using a white color, and that's just for heat. It could get really hot in a greenhouse, so we're going to paint ours white, and I think it's going to look nice. And it's also what the specifications call for the greenhouse, so it won't absorb all that heat if it was a darker color. So next, we can add on the bottom part. I'm going to use metal roofing. So we can see in the design here what they did. One thing that they did in their design I didn't mention earlier is they put the polycarbonate on sideways, and I'm not going to do that. That's a bad idea in my area. We get a lot of snow, and the snow is going to catch in those ridges and build up, whereas if this was installed sideways, the snow would channel down through each of those grooves in the TUFTEX polycarbonate and it slide right off the roof. So we don't want the snow getting stuck on there. And if I put our ridges sideways like that, we would end up with a lot of snow and ice stuck on there, which we don't want. So we're going to be installing our panels sideways. Another thing I'm going to add on here still is the TUFTEX panels call for purlins, cross members at 24 inches on center. So I'm going to add those in next. And then we'll be able to add on some of the metal and the plastic. We'll add it to our Google Sketchup design, and that way we'll be able to see exactly what it's going to look like. So more on that soon. There now. Now we are going to put in some purlins. So the purlins are cross beams through the rafters, and with this TUFTEX, I want to be sure in the particular area I'm in, we get a lot of snow in the wintertime. And I want to have plenty of support for that. And the specifications for TUFTEX call for 24-inch purlins. So we're going to measure down. Let's start over on this side here. Measure down 24 inches from the top. So I'm going to get my guide going. I'm just going to type in 24, enter. Got a point now. We can take this point across. Make sure it's on the green axis. I'll zoom out here. Extend that all the way across. So that'll be the top of the first purlin. And then from here we'll go down 1.5. Which will give us the width of the 2x4, and we'll extend that across. And then if we zoom in, and Google Sketchup locks us right in there at that correct angle that's parallel to the perfectly perpendicular to that rafter, which is exactly what we want for our 2x4. Okay, so now if we zoom in a little bit, we can draw the edge of this 2x4. Just connect the dots. Make sure to get precise on there though. Okay, and now you can use the push-pull tool, pull this out to the face, and we have our first purlin. Now we're going to double-click this, make sure the whole thing's selected, which it's not. Right-click, make component, purlin top. Okay, and now we'll click the move tool, which is also the copy tool. We'll click on the face of this right here, the edge. Get it right on the edge. And hold down Alt, left click the mouse, drag this over. Oops. Put that back. Times 8. So I just hit times 8, now it's going to do that over and over again, all the way across. And I did too many, which I always do just because it's kind of fun. There we go. Now we also want to get one. So another thing we can do, I didn't mention before, if you click Edit, you can delete all your guides rather than clicking each one of them individually. So now we have the purlins going across there. And we're going to want one more right here on the edge. That's where we're going to have one piece of TUFTEX coming down here, and then we're going to have another piece coming here. So it's important we have a purlin right there on the edge. And we'll draw the first one over on this side. We'll get it right in the middle there. So let's get it right about let's just go over 0.75. There we go. Now we have a point to go on. Make sure to click on that point. There we go. Now we'll draw that across. Got the green line. I gotta work on my zooming skills. So from there, let me think about that. We don't want to do it right there because the edge of that 2x4 we would need to cut. We don't want to do that. Let me think about this. What we want to do, I think we actually want to put, I think we want two 2x4s here. I think that's the only way to do it. Because the angle's just not going to be right. Yeah, and I'm going to want to do two 2x4s here. It's probably a little bit overkill, but the problem I'm going to have is it's if I have one there, the angle of 2x4 is not going to be right. Plus, it's going to be a headache trying to screw in a panel from here and then also here if I just have one tiny 2x4. So I'm going to do two 2x4s. I'm going to go from here over 1.5 and then straight down and connect the dots. Oh, I messed that up. Undo. All right, let's try this again. 1.5, and then we want a parallel line down, and then we want to connect the dots here to here to here. To here to here to here. Nope, not going to work. Why would it work? All right, let's try this again. Okay, we want to go parallel to this with a 2x4. $1.5. There we go. So we have that. We're going to hold down Alt, press the mouse key, drag it over. I don't know why I'm having such issues today. There, leave it. Okay, now hit. I don't know why that looks like it's off, but it is off. And it's because I didn't get it over correctly. Okay, select this. Let's click on the right side of it. Make sure we get that very right point. Hold down Alt, right, left click the mouse, drag over. Bam. We're gonna hit ×8, boom. Got it, perfect. Okay, so now we'll get rid of these. Perfect. Now we're going to do the bottom part right here. And we want to make sure, okay, we want to grab the tape measure. We want to go 1.5 down, 1.5 down, and we're going to use the pencil tool, connect the dots. Oh, I messed that up. Ctrl Z. And we're going to pull it out. Nope, I didn't connect the dots enough yet. Let's try again. Pull it out. Nope. Let me get a little bit of a better angle here. All right, tape measure. 1.5, enter. 1.5, enter. It's really important you hit those points exactly, and I think that's what I was messing up. Sometimes it takes you just a little bit off the point, and it mess everything up. It helps to zoom in those cases. There we go. And drag this over to this point. Make sure that whole thing is selected, which it wasn't. Now it is. Make component. Third purlin row. It doesn't matter what you put here, really, just trying to make it unique. Now let's be smart about it and click on this side. Mouse over, hold down Alt, left mouse click. It's going to copy it over to here. I'm holding down the left mouse key, that's locking me in perfectly. Then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to type in times 5. Now let's do, there we go, that's looking pretty cool. All right, one more and we'll be done on this side. So let's go 24 down from here. Zoom in close so I don't mess it up. 24, enter. Okay, and we'll draw a guideline perpendicular down. 1.5 down from here. .5 down from here. And we draw the box. Make sure to get it right on there. And we pull it out. Push-pull tool, right to the face. Make sure the whole thing is selected. It is. Right-click, make component. Fourth purlin row. And make sure to hit the, okay, we're going to hit the move copy tool. Click the right edge, hit the move copy tool, mouse over the right edge, hold down Alt key, left mouse click, drag this over, holding the right arrow key, holding the left arrow key, get it right on the face and click. And we'll go down here and we'll type in times 5. And we'll have one extra. Nope, 5 is perfect. There we go, we have that whole side done now. That looks pretty cool. All right, let's do the same thing. It should go quicker now that I get the hang of it. Okay, so we're going to go 24 down, draw a guideline, 1.5 over from there, 1.5, there we go, pencil it in. Right there. Make component, fifth. We will copy it, like this face over here. Right arrow key, left arrow key, done. Times 5. Perfect. Okay, now we want to do one right here. 1.5 over. 1.5 over. Pencil it in. Push-pull tool right to the face. Make component 6 purlin. Move copy tool, hold down Alt, left click mouse, hold the left arrow key, get it on the face, and we do ×5. Alt over ×5. Alright, so that concludes our Google Sketchup build. We now have the frame, the skeleton of the greenhouse designed. So next we will need to add in the polycarbonate TUFTEX panels and the siding, and we'll do that in another video. And please stay tuned. I think it'll be really exciting when you see the actual build video. This was obviously a very long sort of tutorial video, but the build video will be a lot quicker, and we'll have some really good visuals and pictures and walk through how we build the greenhouse and actually do the construction. So please subscribe and check back for that future video.